Hello and welcome to Matrix Tutorials. A few months ago, I showed you how to bridge Discord and Slack to Matrix using public bridge instances. But one of the key promises of Matrix is to empower you with your data and to offer digital sovereignty. Today, we're going to learn how to deploy your own Discord bridge. In the previous Matrix tutorial about bridging Discord and Slack, I have shown you how to use T2bot.io's Discord bridge, which is a patched version of Matrix App Service Discord. This project is in slow maintenance mode these days, so I'm going to show you how to deploy Motrix Discord, a different bridge maintained by Tulare and Beeper instead. Matrix App Service Discord is mostly about bridging Matrix rooms to Discord channels for everyone. The rooms are often public on the Matrix side and anyone can join them to join the conversation that will be bridged over to Discord and the other way around. Motrix Discord is primarily a user-centric bridge. To use it, you talk to the bridge bot, you authenticate personally to the bridge as if it were a Discord client. Several Matrix users can use the same bridge, and the bridge is going to deduplicate the rooms when relevant. Actually, it's not going to create duplicate rooms in the first place, but let's not get lost in details. It's a polished bridge with great features like automatic Discord server bridging. It can follow a Discord server, also called a guild, create a corresponding Matrix space, and populate it with rooms automatically bridged to the relevant Discord channels. Tulare thinks of eventually making Motrix Discord also support bridging room in a more community-centric way than the current user-centric way, though there is no concrete plan for it at this point. It's already possible to set up relaying with webhooks, but it's a manual operation that needs to be done on a room-per-room basis. I'm going to leave a link in the description if you're interested in digging. But for now, let's dive in and you will see for yourself. For the sake of simplicity, let's start where we left after the very first Matrix tutorial on how to deploy Synapse with Docker Compose. If you decided to go with what I would call the more maintainable way by using Ansible, first of all, congrats, I think you took the right decision, and second, I think you will be able to translate the Docker Compose instructions into Ansible tasks. I'm leaving a link in the description to the first tutorial to deploy your Synapse instance with Docker Compose in case you need a refresher. So what did we have? There was a reverse proxy routing the traffic to the relevant containers. Only 2 containers were exposed on the web, Synapse doing all the Matrix heavy lifting, and Nginx, which is serving files for the delegation of incoming Federation traffic. Very quickly, delegation is what allows you to host your server on matrix.example.com and still have a user ID that looks like @user:example.com. Our Synapse had a volume to store its configuration and logs. It was talking to a Postgres database that was not exposed on the internet, of course, and the database itself had a volume to persist data. So what we're going to do today, we're going to add the bridge container itself with a volume primarily meant to persist 2 files, the configuration file for the bridge itself, and the registration file that the bridge is going to generate from its configuration, and that we're going to add to Synapse so it allows the bridge to have privileged access to it. The bridge isn't reachable from the internet, it's only connected to its database and Synapse. It can also make outgoing calls to the internet, so it can call the Discord APIs in this context. I've mentioned privileged access to it, so let's stop on that for a bit and have a look at this example situation. We have a water cooler channel on Discord bridged to Discord_watercooler on example.com. In terms of native users on the Matrix side, there's only Bob, and on the Discord side, there is Alice and there's Carol. As you can see on the schema, the bridge is going to create 2 ghosts on the Matrix side, one for Alice and one for Carol. From a technical perspective, they're just regular Matrix users on example.com. The bridge needs the privileged access to Synapse to say, I want to register those 2 Matrix users. We will see later how Matrix handles potential name clashes. On the Discord side, the bridge is going to call the Discord APIs to do whatever it needs to do to make it look like there is a Discord user called Bob. In the Matrix vocabulary, we say that this is a puppet mimicking what the actual Bob Matrix user does. Back to our deployment, the registration file is what allows the bridge to get privileged access to Synapse. It's going to be generated by the bridge and dumped into the volume we assigned it. We will move it to Synapse's volume and update Synapse's configuration to take it into account. And finally, the bridge will need a database which will itself have a volume to persist data. Technically, you could use the same database as Synapse, but I personally find the overhead of running another database to be fairly low in such deployments, and that gives me more flexibility if I want to move the database on another server in the future. So, let's fire up our terminal. So the first thing we're going to do when we are confronted to a new project is open the documentation. And to do that, we're just going to look at Motrix Discord, and the first result that is returned is the GitHub repository, which is where we actually want to go because we have a direct link to the documentation with Docker. So the documentation is quite rich, and you want to scroll down to the Docker Compose section, and actually it's quite short. So we're going to copy that section below services, and we're going to paste that in our Docker Compose file. So I've got my Docker Compose file. I'm going to add Motrix Discord, so it has a container name, so it's not going to have the infra-motrix discord-1 name, it's just going to be Motrix Discord. This is something we could have done for Synapse actually, but we didn't, so let's just carry on with that. For the version, so you probably want to go with latest. Most of the time for my own deployments, I don't really like to go with latest because I'd rather update consciously the containers. But for the sake of the demonstration, let's use latest. For the restarts, I'm going to change that to no, because actually I want the bridge to generate a few files, and well, I want, if it crashes afterwards or if it stops afterwards, I don't want it to restart and retry to generate the files. You will understand why later, and we will change that when we run in production. So for the volumes, as it is right now, that would mount the data directory of the Motrix Discord container on the current directory, so the infra directory on my server. This is not something I want. I want that to be in a volume, so I'm going to name that volume Motrix Discord data, and I'm going to add it here. So Motrix Discord data. Right. So if we get back to our slides, we are at the step right here where we add the container and the volume. So let's do this. Docker compose app -d. It's going to pull the image, which was quite short. And if I do a docker ps, I can see that it's not running, because what's been happening is that the container was started by Docker Compose, and then the container just generated the configuration file, and it stopped instantaneously. Because I told it not to restart, if it stopped, well, it didn't restart. So let's go to the volumes, and I can see I've got infra Motrix Discord data that was created, and inside that I've got a config file. So I can have a look at that config file, and I'm going to do a very simple thing. I'm going to replace all the instances of example.com with my domain. So for me it's chipchop.org, and I'm going to do that with all the instances. Another thing I want to do is I'm going to look up localhost. So why am I going to change that? The command says the address is the one that the home server will use to connect to the app service. So let's get back to our slides for a second. We said we had a bidirectional relationship here. So that means that sometimes the Synapse container wants to call the app service container here. If I leave it as localhost, so the file that is going to be generated from that will be dumped here in the bridge volume, but I will need to copy it in the Synapse volume, because this is going to be the registration file that Synapse uses. So Synapse is going to be using that file here, and if it says on localhost, I want to get that I want to get the information on that port. So it's going to call localhost inside its own container, and the bridge is not inside the container. So I'm just going to update that to the name of the container of the bridge. In our case, it's Motrix-Discord. And in that case, the Synapse container is going to look up Motrix Discord as if it were a domain name and resolve it. So let's get back to the terminal. The address is going to be Motrix Discord, and there we go. We have a database config section. Actually, this is something we can do right now too. But before we edit that, we need to have the volume to be, well, not just the volume, the container as well, to be actually created. So at the moment, this is what we have, and this is what we want to do. So we're going to set up the dedicated Postgres and its volume. So for that, I'm not going to be very original. I'm going to go back to my infra directory, open the Docker Compose. I'm just going to copy the Synapse DB section, and I'm going to paste that below the Motrix Discord one. There we go. So I'm going to change that. Let's call it Motrix Discord DB. Yeah, we're going to use Postgres 14. I'm going to use the Postgres user Motrix. Importantly, this is going to create also a database called Motrix. I can set up a specific environment variable called Postgres_DB if I want a different name, but I don't really want a different name here. I'm going to leave the same Postgres password here in the demonstration. In production, obviously, please don't do that. Update it, and I'm going, very important too, to change the volume, and I want that volume to be Motrix Discord DB data. And here again, I'm going to add it here in the list of volumes, Motrix Discord DB data. There we go. So I've got my volume, and before running Docker Compose up-d, I'm going to go back to Docker volumes. I'm going to edit the configuration file of the bridge to tell it how it can connect to the database. Volumes, and it's infra Motrix Discord data, and I can edit the config file. So it's indeed a Postgres. The URI is going to be, so my user is, whoopsie, my user is Motrix. My password is, oh, I think I forgot to paste that. A complex password. Nobody can guess. I think that was it. The host is going to be Motrix Discord DB. The database, as I told you earlier, is going to be Motrix as well, and we're not changing the rest. So let's check a complex password. Nobody can guess. I'm not sure that was actually it. Docker Compose. A complex passphrase. Nobody can guess. Oh, so let's change that. Lib Docker volumes. Infra Motrix Discord data. Complex passphrase. There we go. Nobody can guess. Okay, back to where my Docker Compose lives, and I can do Docker Compose up-d, and it's going to start things. Okay, let's do Docker PS to see what is running. So I've got Postgres infra Motrix Discord DB1. Oh, I could have given it a name, but all right, docker logs.f. Ready to accept connection, so the DB started. That's good. If I do Docker PS again, I can see that the Motrix bridge is still not running, and that's actually a good thing, because now it has generated a registration file. So let's go to var lib docker volumes. Oops, typing is hard. Volumes infra Motrix Discord data. There we go, and I can see I have a new file that appeared, the registration.yaml. So let's have a look at it. What's inside that? ID Discord. So I believe this is the this is just the idea of the bridge. The URL. So as I told you, this is what the Synapse container is going to call when it tries to reach the bridge. AS and HS token. Those are to ensure that the bridge and the Synapse instance are authorized to talk to one another. And finally, there is an interesting section here, namespaces. So I told you earlier that there is a concept in Matrix that allows to prevent namespace clashes, to prevent name clashes. So this is namespaces. Basically, what this means is everything that matches that regex is just reserved specifically for the bridge. So if I wanted to register a new user, if I took any app, element, Cine, whatever, and tried to register on chipchop.org with a username starting with Discord underscore, I could not, because this is the bridge territory and Synapse is going to protect it and say, no, you cannot do that. So this is what the bridge is going to use to register new users. All right. So now I have that file, so the bridge is still not running. Let's go to the slide back for a second. What I'm going to do, the file has been created right here in that volume, the bridge volume, and I'm just going to copy that in the Synapse data volume. And I'm just also going to edit the Synapse configuration file so it knows that it needs to take that file into consideration. So let's do that. I've got my registration file and I'm going to go to infra synapse data. I'm going to create app service registration directory because I like to group them in a single folder. And I'm going to copy infra Motrix Discord data. And I'm going to copy the registration file and I'm going to call it discord.yaml. There we go. Now I need, so I've got my file on the Synapse volume. Now I need to tell Synapse that it needs to listen to that file. So I'm going to edit the home server.yaml file. Whoops. Home server.yaml file. And actually, if I look at app service, nothing appears. So let's go to the bottom of the file and we're going to look up the docs. So let's look up Synapse configuration manual and take the first link, and we have an application services section. And what I want is this option that tells Synapse all those files are the one you need to consider when it comes to app services. So let's get back to my terminal. I'm going to paste that and add an entry, and it's going to be data app service registration discord.yaml. I'm going to double check that path. It was app service registration and it's discord.yaml without a, so it should be good. All right. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to restart Synapse. Infra Synapse 1. Was it with underscores? No, it's with dashes. Docker restart infra dash synapse dash 1. Just going to have a look at the logs. Infra synapse dash 1. Aha, so permission denied. Oh, so this one is interesting. Let's have a look at that, and we are going to the app service registration directory that I have created, and we can see that Synapse doesn't have the permission to read the file. So I'm just going to change the owner of the file to be the Synapse one. There we go. And if I do restart infra synapse 1, and I'm going to look at the logs right after that. Infra synapse 1. There we go. Okay, much better. So Synapse is started and the config file is not mangled. So that's good. But if we do a Docker PS, we still don't see the Motrix Discord itself. We have the Motrix Discord database, but we don't have the Motrix Discord itself. So let's get to the infra folder and open the Docker Compose. And in the Motrix Discord here, I'm going to change the restart to unless stopped. Go, and if I do docker compose up -d, and I'm going to look at the logs right after that. So I'm going to look at docker logs -f. It's going to be Motrix Discord because it's a named container. There we go. And it looks like the bridge is happy. Okay, very good. So let's continue. So the deployment is complete. Now we need to actually use it in practice. So I'm back to my browser and I'm going to look at Motrix documentation and find Motrix Discord. And what I need to do is authentication. So I need to open a private chat with the bot, which is Discord bot on my server. So let me open private window. So I have a new instance of Element and I'm going to update my OBS setup so you can see it as well. There we go. app.element.io. I can sign in. So it's going to be on my home server. It's going to be chipchop.org. My username is Tib. My password is very secret. Yes, I want to improve Element. So I'm going to send a direct message. I'm going to reopen the docs so you can follow along. There it is. So it told me open a private chat with a bridge bot, usually at Discord bot on your server. So let's do that at okay, at Discord bot on chipchop.org. Looks promising. So I'm going to click on go. Actually, there's a trap here. Even if I clicked on go, the room here and the DM is not created. And actually Element tells me so. Send your first message to invite the bot to chat. So I'm going to say help, and this is going to create the room. And now I can see the bot answering me. All right. So I've been playing with it a little before, and the QR login didn't work for me. So I had to extract my token login so I could play with the Discord bot. So I'm going to do that in a private window so you can see my Discord login token. So let's do that in another window. I'm going to go to Discord. And I'm going to open the DevTools network API. Reload. Library. Authorization. Okay. So I've got my token copied, and I'm going to send login token user with my token to the bot. So I'm just going to change the window so you can't see that. Login token user. There we go. And so the bridge has redacted my message, which is good because my token is not going to leak this way. I'm logged in with my username and it has my user ID. So it's now creating invites for all the DMs I have pending. So let's not panic. Here we have 2 space invite. DMs, and all right, so I've got this new structure. So it created a Discord space for me where it's going to group everything that's bridged to Discord, and I have a direct message Discord space. All right, let's get back to the Discord bridge bot because this is what I'm interested in. And I'm going to try to bridge a guild. So a guild is what is also called a Discord server. And let's actually try to bridge. Let's try with Astro. So I quite like Astro to build websites, even if I'm more fond of Solr that we used for the Matrix or website. This is a typical URL you can see on Discord. So you have discord.com/channels/the guild ID and /the channel ID. So I'm interested only in the guild ID, which I'm going to keep. And if I want to check the doc, there is a little trick here. Because what I want to do is I want to have some magic. I want the bridge to automatically create all the rooms for me and not to wait for the first message to be there. So the docs in bridging rooms are telling me that I need the entire flag to create all the rooms automatically. Anyway, let's show you how it works. So I've got my guild ID, and I'm going to follow what's in portal management. So it's going to be guilds, and I'm going to bridge with a guild ID, and I'm going to add enable. I think it's enable entire. All right, let's do this. Guild, bridge, the guild ID, and let's say entire. And you can see it has created Astro Lounge, which is actually so it's creating a lot of spaces and rooms, etc., which matches with everything you can see on the Discord side. So you can see it can be a bit tedious at first to accept all of them, but if I accept them, it's going to look a lot less messy. It's going to look much more organized. There we go. I accept everything, all your terms and conditions. There we go. Oh, I'm rate limited. My Synapses thinks this is spam. All right, but that should be enough to show what's happening here. So under the Discord space, I've got the Astro Lounge, which corresponds to the Astro Discord server, and I can see all the different sections of that server. Like, for example, I don't know, the contributing one. We have rooms there, and I don't know, maybe the community one. Oh, I have not yet accepted. There we go. And in the community, I've got all the rooms that are in the community section of the Discord space. So that's pretty much it. With that, you should be set up for the bridge. If you want to explore, I really invite you to read the docs of Motrix. They are really, really well written. So kudos to Tulare for that, because those are very good docs. And thanks to Beeper as well for contributing and maintaining those bridges. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next week. See you around.